Hi, welcome to my study. I want to use this opportunity to produce a couple of videos on subjects that I hold dear to my heart. I want to be able to have a conversation with you guys where I can share some of my personal philosophy, my philosophy towards making, creating, crafting, however you want to describe it. So I'm without a workshop at the moment, so I'm not able to do much in the way of workshop videos. So I thought I would take the opportunity to have a couple of these chats over the winter, and you can get to know me better and understand more about what I want to do with the channel. So my suggestion, if I may, is go and get yourself a cup of coffee, or preferably a cup of tea. I am English after all. A couple of chocolate biscuits, and settle back and we can have a chat about crafting, about making, and specifically about my philosophy towards why I think people should just go out and pick a craft and learn any craft that takes their interest. So why do I think people need to go out and learn a craft, or should go out and learn a craft? I'm not suggesting that people give up their current job and go off and become a full-blown craftsperson stroke tradesperson. What I'm suggesting is that there are many benefits in learning how to craft. Becoming a maker is a creative process. Being a maker is a creative process, I should say. Being a craftsperson, learning a craft, has so many benefits for the individual personally. One philosophy that I've held for a very long time is, and I just can't seem to shift it. It's well and truly implanted in me, is that I believe there is a tremendous amount of crossover in terms of skill sets across all the crafts. There are common skills that you learn when you learn a craft that you can transport from one craft to the next. The most valuable tool that any person has are these. It's their hands. If you can work with your hands, if you can create with your hands in one particular craft, you will be able to take that skill once you've learnt it, and you will be able to make things in other crafts. I started out 20 plus years ago working with wood. I wasn't very good at it, but I persevered, and there were many projects that ended up in the bin, and there were times when I felt very dejected because I was doing something that I wasn't used to doing. I am a creative person. I've been a software developer for almost 30 years, and that is a creative process. Writing good software is a very creative process. But it taught me that skill in being creative takes a long time to learn. Now, there isn't much in software development that I can apply to any of the other crafts. So this is the exception that proves the rule. But what I'm trying to say is that if you can learn a particular skill that uses your hands, you'll be able to transfer those skills. So going back to my previous part story that I've just wandered off, I started off doing woodwork, and then due to family circumstances I lost the workspace that I had where I was doing the woodworking, and I ended up in a small house with no workshop, and I was looking for something where I could be creative, that wasn't work, that wasn't software, that wasn't that just gave me a break from everything. At the time, I was raising 4 children on my own, and I did that particular job for 7 years. And I needed a skill, or I needed a craft, something that I could throw myself into, that I could use my hands for, that I could do at the kitchen table. And that is when I started to do leatherwork. I chose leatherwork because it was something that required very few in the way of tools, required virtually nothing in terms of material for some of the smaller projects like journal covers or mobile phone, cell phone covers and cases and things like this. And it was something that I would be able to do at the kitchen table, and I would be able to keep the tools in a small box. And I probably spent 6-7 years doing nothing but leatherwork, which then meant that when I had the opportunity to go back to woodworking, when I managed to rent a small workshop in 2018, I went back to the woodworking, and it was then that I suddenly realised that my woodworking skill set had jumped phenomenally in terms of what I was able to do and what I was able to produce, simply because I had learnt a whole load of hand skills from all of the leatherwork. And it's off the back of this that it's made me think that there must be some overlap in every single skill set. And I've proved that to myself when I went and did a course. I did a 4-day blacksmithing and welding course. Now, I've had no experience whatsoever with metalwork, but I suddenly found that because I'd been leatherworking and because I'd been woodworking, and certainly with woodwork you do on occasion use a hammer, when I went and did the blacksmithing course, I dropped into it in an instant, and I had an absolutely fantastic time on the 4 days because I already had these the hand-eye coordination that had been provided by the other crafts. So that's part of my personal philosophy on transferability of skills. I think that once you learn to use your hands, you gain a huge amount of confidence. And once you have that confidence, if you're willing to try different crafts and different things, you'll suddenly find that you can do those crafts equally as well. One of the great benefits of learning a craft is it will help you to develop confidence. I can really only talk about this from my own personal experience, and I know that in the past I have been a very unconfident person. I am naturally an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. I know appearing on camera may appear like I am an extrovert, but that isn't actually the case. When I was a child growing up, I lacked confidence completely. I had no confidence in myself. I found social interaction very difficult, and I've had to develop confidence in myself over the course of time. Being able to create an item from scratch, to be able to make something that didn't exist before, when you complete that task and you've built that object, it fills you with a great sense of joy. And it's the joy that comes from having completed the creative process. And there are other benefits in the creative process which I'm going to talk about in a moment, but one of the big things for me is that the more I've made and the more I've created, the more confident I've become. And that's also to do, I can roll in my software development work. As my software development skills increased over time and the projects that I completed became more complex, and people gave me feedback on the quality of the work that I produced. And this is also, I can apply this to the craft making side as well. As I've made objects for individuals, for people, I've done a number of bespoke projects for people. their feedback when they get their item and they see how fantastic it is, their feedback is always positive and it helps to build confidence. So I think that if you can encourage anyone, if you can take up a craft yourself or encourage anyone to take up a craft, especially children, then it's always going to have a positive effect. At the moment, one of the things that really is that I'm really quite passionate about when it comes to children is children spend an awful lot of time in front of computers, in front of games consoles, with their phones in their hand, and that while all of these tools are very, very useful in life, you know, I can remember having to phone my parents to come and pick me up from wherever I happen to be, rather than being able to just send them a message on a handheld communication device. The point is that it can actually be quite destructive for children if they're on these devices all the time. Now, one of the things that again, as I would say, quite passionate about is I'm aware of Warhammer, and I'm aware of Warhammer 40k. I'm not happy with certain aspects of it, in so much as the backstory seems to be quite gruesome. But the fact that children are interested in acquiring models and painting models and then playing with the models, for me, is fantastic, because this is the start, this is the introduction for children into being creative. When you first start, you know, when I was younger, even this is 50 plus years ago, when I was 10 years old, I used to paint Napoleonic figures, and to start with I was rubbish at it. By the time I'd painted 100, 150 of these things, I started to get much better. I started to develop what I've talked about before, the hand-eye coordination, the hand skills that are necessary to paint. And I like Games Workshop models from the point of view that it teaches children the creative process, and it allows them to develop creative skills and to develop this hand-eye coordination which we lack in so many other things. Yes, you can get involved in sports and you can develop that kind of coordination from that angle as well. But so many children aren't interested in playing sports anymore, or that kind of activity. So encouraging children to buy models and to paint models and to assemble models and to paint models, these are all the kind of hand-eye coordination skills that you need to develop so that you can get through life, and can be a base block on which to build a greater skill set. So yeah, it's for me, that kind of thing is really important for building personal confidence. If you have the confidence that you can use your hands to fix something or to solve a problem or whatever, then that's always got to be to the good. For me, there is another aspect to crafting, that I want to share. For me, it's a very peaceful process. For me, it brings me peace to be quietly sat working on a piece of leatherwork, or in the workshop working on a woodworking project. It allows me to step back from some of the pressures of life. Now, again, this is just a very personal philosophy. This is my own personal philosophy. This is very much me sharing something that's deep inside me. A lot of people find their own peace in a lot of different ways, but I find that if I need to de-stress, if I need to let off steam, if I need to get things out of my system, then the workshop is the very best place to be. In the past, when we were living in France, if I became stressed, for want of a better description, if I'd just been exposed to too much in the way of outside stimulus, if I've become overstimulated, for want of a better description, I would go into the workshop and I would find something to bash. And I would put some music on in the workshop, often heavy rock, heavy metal, and I would make some noise. And I always found that that was the very best way for me to release the tension that had built up inside me. Now that I'm almost 60, I find that just being able to go and sit peacefully and work on a creative project, I said it in the previous section, it fills me with joy. When you complete something, it fills you with joy. And it really does get right down to the core of what we are as human beings. Being able to regulate yourself in that way, to be able to find your own peace in that way, for me it's fantastic, and it's what crafting and what making is all about. It's a very personal exercise, and it's a very personal and deep experience for me. Now, I would encourage everybody to just give it a go. Just try something. You will surprise yourself in no time at all. You know, they say, oh, you can become proficient at something in 2,000 hours, and you become a guru in 10,000 hours. And if you want to be in a rock band, you need to put in 10,000 hours worth of practice on your guitar or on your drum set before you can do it. Don't get me wrong, those figures are probably correct. And if you need 10,000 hours to be in a rock band, then it shows you the dedication that you need to achieve that goal. But you can become proficient in a craft with a lot less time than that, and you can to the point that you won't be embarrassed to show other people the things that you've made. You know, I've had people come up to me and say, oh, you've got so much talent, oh, you're so skilled, blah 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 blah. I don't believe I have any innate talent. I don't believe I was born with talent. It's just practice and a huge dollop of belief in my own skills. I've said before, the fact that somebody's done something before, you know, my motto is, I can do it because it's been done before. And if somebody's done it before, there's no reason why you can't do it. It's simply, I guess to some extent, it's simply a mindset. If you get your mind in the right place, get your head in the right place, you can go off and do something, and you can achieve great things when it comes to making and when it comes to crafting. So give it a go. For me, as I said, coming back to the point that I'm trying to make, it's relaxing. Yes, you can end up with a little bit of stress off the back of a project, especially if you're getting towards the end and you're applying varnish or a finish to a wooden project, and you don't want to get it wrong because of all the time that you've already invested in it. That can be a little bit stressful. But on the whole process of design and creation, it brings me peace, and I can't recommend it highly enough. If you have the opportunity, take something up, find your own peace. The last thing I want to talk about in terms of learning skills and taking up a craft or taking up multiple crafts is quite interesting. There is a quote that is often attributed to William Shakespeare, and that is, a jack of all trades is a master of none. Now, I've been called a jack of all trades. A jack of all trades is often a term that's used in a very derogatory fashion and thrown at people to try and demean the skills that they have. But that, just calling somebody a jack of all trades, that is only half the quote. The full quote that is attributed to William Shakespeare is, "A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oft times better than a master of one." And I think that that's absolutely fantastic. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with being a jack of all trades. I think if you can develop your skill set so that you become a reasonably good journeyman in any particular craft, and then you move on to become a reasonably good journeyman in a second craft, and then move on to become a reasonably good journeyman in a third or fourth or fifth craft, I think your skill set, having a wider range of skills like that, is going to be much more beneficial for you and for everybody that's around you. Yes, it is important to have masters in a particular craft. The term master, master builder, master woodworker, master blacksmith, etc., etc. Lots of people apply those tags to themselves when they haven't really earned them. You know, to be a master, you have to have trained an apprentice and had that apprentice complete his training and become a journeyman in that particular craft. But you need to have those masters so that you can have people who are at the pinnacle of their individual craft. Now, the point that I'm trying to make is that I'm not that. I'm not a master craftsman in so much as I have trained an apprentice, and I would never call myself a master craftsman for that reason. But the point that I'm trying to make is that there is absolutely nothing wrong with being able to turn your hand to anything. I've got things on my list that I can't do at the moment that I fully intend to well, I was about to use the word master, but I fully intend to learn how to do them to a competent level. I don't know, I'm not a bricklayer. I would love to know how to lay bricks. I've got a wall out the front of the house that needs to be remodelled. I need to take a part of it down. I'd love to be able to rebuild that myself. I don't think it's beyond my capabilities. Certainly now that I have got the skills that I've learned from leatherwork and from woodwork, and I'm developing in metalwork, bricklaying has no fear for me whatsoever. And yes, I think that I can do it and learn how to do it to a higher standard than most people would call a DIY standard. So don't be afraid of learning some skills in one craft and then jumping over to another craft and having a go at something else. You don't have to pick one craft and stick to it for the rest of your life. You can if you want. If you want to become a master knitter of children's teddy bears and dollies and things, then go for it. I'm absolutely not saying that you shouldn't do that. But what I am saying is that there is no shame whatsoever in spending 6 months or a year learning leatherwork, 6 months to a year learning woodwork, and any other craft. There is a lot of crossover, don't forget, between crafts. I use leatherwork in my woodworking all the time, often for handles for boxes and for lining boxes and for desk covers and all sorts. So yes, it was just something that I wanted to put out there. A jack of all trades is absolutely not a derogatory term. It's something that if somebody calls you that, you should claim it with pride. So there you go. This is just my view on why I think everybody should be encouraged to go out and find a craft and have a go at crafting. It may not be for everyone. It's purely down to personal taste. There are people who love to cycle hundreds of miles every day. There are people who like to play sports. Each of us has our own individual way of developing our own skill set and our own confidence. But from the point of view of the majority of people, crafting and making is a brilliant way of, as I said, developing skills, developing confidence, and finding a way of relaxing. This world that we live in at the moment is horrendous for the majority of the population of the planet. I am very fortunate in where I live. I am very fortunate in the fact that I can do all of these things, that I can sit in front of a camera and pontificate about the benefits of crafting, when there are many millions of people in this world who use those skills simply to survive. So yeah, I hope everybody has enjoyed this video. I hope that at least one person makes it all the way through. It's just me talking about things that motivate me and trying to encourage others to just give it a go. My last comment and my last piece of advice is, don't ever let the fear of failure stand in the way of you having a go at something. And that could be anything in life. It's not just crafting. It's not just making. If you want to be a better person, then don't let fear stand in the way. Push through that. Have a crack. If you fail, you fail. You never ever fail to gain experience from failure. And I have failed in many things, many times, and sometimes I've even failed at the same thing time after time because I just won't learn the lesson that is being taught to me. So I'm going to leave you with that one thought. And I hope everybody enjoyed the video, and there will be more of these. If you have any suggestions for a topic that you would like me to talk about, then please drop a comment in the comments below, and yeah, please be kind. I am trying to help. I want you to understand a little bit about me. The channel's going to grow. I'm going to be producing a lot more videos and demonstrating and showcasing skills, and over the next couple of months I'm going to be building a workshop office, and not a workshop office, a garden office, and a workshop in the garden. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see everybody soon.